On today's show, Alex, Katelyn, and I break down the year that was in running. We go way back to January 1st and walk through every dramatic performance, every controversy. There was a lot of them this year. Every wild record, including this guy. I'd forgotten about this. A guy ran his 1,000th marathon in 2024. That's already mind-blowing. But then he set this record in doing so for having the lowest overall average time in terms of marathon performances in those 1,000 marathons. That was just nuts. And we pull out all sorts of other stuff from 2024, which is really like an impressive year. So we go through all that, and then we do the top 10 stories from our site, marathonhandbook.com, from 2024, based purely on web traffic. So what you, the audience, were interested in reading about over the last 12 months. And we also do our top 10 training articles as well, which is a pretty curious list to go through because it sort of indicates what you're interested in, what you're training for, what the big trends were in 2024. Also, this week on our channels, on our platforms, there's a lot going on. Jessie just did her 12 best performances of 2024. So she did a big wrap up of what she thought the 12 best running performances were. A little controversy, actually, a little controversial how she ranked everything, in my opinion, but a really good list, a really interesting list. And she does a great job arguing her point, her ranking system. And she also put together a neat little video as well, which we're going to have up on, I think, on Friday. The pod goes out on Thursday mornings. And I think we'll have that video up on our YouTube channel. Jessie narrates it and walks you through her 12 choices on Friday. And if you go to our Instagram, there's a post on Instagram of, I believe it's the top 5 of those 12 performances. We narrowed it down. Or actually, I think we actually put all 12. But anyway, go check our Instagram, and we unpack Jessie's picks for that. Speaking of lists, we also tabulated the fastest marathon shoes of 2024. We ranked them by virtue of where they placed on podiums in all of the major marathons, including the Olympic marathons and the marathon majors throughout 2024. And we created a ranking system, and we went down the list about the top 10 super shoes that are out there. And you can find that on our site. And we also created an Instagram post for it as well, walking through, I believe, the top 5 of those shoes. So make sure you check out our Instagram. There's a lot going on there right now. And to correspond with that, Alex also put together his top 5 racing shoes of the year on our YouTube channel. They are his highly, highly subjective personal picks, but I think they're pretty inarguable. I know that he struggled over numbers 3 to 5, but he felt very strongly about his top pick. And if you've been following our YouTube channel for a while, since the fall, you would know what his number 1 pick is. What else we got there? We've got Strava released their year-end report, which is always interesting. They do this every year, where they let you look under the hood and see a little bit of their data, and they package it all together and roll it out for you. We did an analysis of it and put together on our Instagram as well as on the site a full breakdown of the Strava data. Fun fact: most social running city in the world in 2024, Jakarta. Would not have guessed that in a million years. And so yeah, let's get into the podcast. Let's get into Alex, Katelyn, and I getting in the time machine, going way back, and walking you through what really was a pretty extraordinary year in running. Let's get into the show. All right, I'm joined by a pixelated ghost-like image all the way from Prince Edward Island, Canada. The avatar representing Alex Sear. And
Hello,
Katelyn Tossie.
hello, Michael.
Wow, that's some good work you're doing right now.
I
don't know. I don't know whether you're actually like screwing around or we're having a little technical issue.
Is it really like that, or
it's
I can't
close.
tell either.
It's close. We're on 3 out of 4 bars here, so I'll cross my fingers that it only gets better throughout the pod.
Young Alex is back in his childhood home with mom and dad, sleeping in his kid bed with his feet sticking out the end.
Race car bed.
Yeah, and his sense of humor has reverted 10 years too. Look at that.
Race car bed. Oh man, I get out the old Star Wars bed sheets. And Katelyn Tossie is all grown up and she's in sunny Costa Rica, well lit and ready to pod.
Sweating.
Sweating profusely. This is some great podcasting. If you're listening to the podcast and not watching the video feed of our podcast, this is some great stuff. Actually, that's a good tip to our listeners and not watchers. If you didn't know already, Spotify does video now, so you can actually watch us on Spotify. And I got a neat little tidbit about that coming up in a second, which will, I think, warm both of your hearts. And also, we're on YouTube, of course. We put the podcast out on YouTube like pretty much straight away as soon as it's also in your podcast feed as well, if you prefer to stare at us versus listen to us. So
they might not want to, especially today. Pixelated Alex.
Yeah. Hopefully we can recover this video.
Doesn't hit the same way.
I've just got like drops pouring down my face at this point. No, I'm just kidding. It's warm. Remember, guys, it's summer now, so we're like cycling back into the hot weather, potting like in a closed room, no windows. It's fine.
Oh my God. Just as I'm getting into massively snowy and cold workouts. I'm jealous. Right. I think Michael's you're the sweet middle, like a couple degrees over 0 Celsius. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a happy medium right now. It was a very foggy morning, an enchanted morning here in Toronto. Okay, guys, do either of you use Spotify? Do you have a Spotify account?
Of course.
No, yes. I have Apple Music. I tell myself I'll change it every year. I feel like the kid who gets a Zune over Christmas when all their friends got the iPod.
That's a good pull. Yes. Yes, absolutely. The sort of off-brand version. Although, you know what? I like, not to go down a music rabbit hole here, but Apple Music is quite good. I actually have both, which sounds insane, but I have both. Spotify, of course, does Wrapped every year, right? Yep. Everyone just check your feeds. Everyone's been talking about it the last couple of weeks. By the time we're recording this podcast a little in advance because of the holiday season. By the time you listen to this, you'll be like, Spotify Wrapped, that came out like a month ago. Yeah. But yes. So Spotify Wrapped, you get to see, for better or for worse, your listening habits from the last year. And they also do Spotify Wrapped for creators like ourselves. So we got to see some of the data from you, the Spotify listener. So if you're listening to our podcast through Spotify, you've contributed to this data that we've got to look at, which has been really interesting. I'll tell you about some of the numbers in a second because they're kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
But first, Katelyn, we need to know what's your top song from the year? What's your most played song, and how much of your life did you dedicate to it? Did you do the math where you're like 3,287 minutes divided by 60?
I didn't do the math. Can you guys guess? You guys would never guess.
Shake It Off by Taylor Swift.
No. I'm not a huge Taylor Swift. No, I'm not a Swiftie.
I knew that. I knew you weren't a Swiftie. You're one of the real ones. You're like a music head. Yeah.
It's funny though, because I don't think you guys are gonna guess the genres that I like to listen to, because
something from the Wicked soundtrack. That's really recent, actually.
But that would have been a really good guess, musical wise. You guys aren't even going to know the song. Our listeners aren't going to know the song, I bet.
New song or old song?
No, a pretty new song. I think it probably came out this year.
Spanish language song or English?
No, Spanish. That's why I think so. My top song was Calumnia by Carlos Rivera and Prince Royce. It's a bachata. I bet you guys probably wouldn't guess that ever.
That just all went way over my head.
That was my number one. That was my number one song this year. But of course, our listeners are going to be like, "What?" Well, I don't know if I have any fellow like listeners out there who love bachata and like tropical music, like dance. Let me know. Write it in the comments.
We'll put a link to the video in YouTube in our show notes. There you go. And we'll get to watch it, Alex.
What was your? What I need to know. Does Apple Music also do something like this? What was your most listened to song, Alex? The Lumineers?
I didn't get mine yet. Apple Music probably does it later. I'll let you know.
They just came out with it. So mid-December they came out with their version. I forget what they call it. I think they called it like Rewind or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like off-brand wrapped. I discovered that this shows my commitment to the podcasting game. I discovered that I spent the equivalent of 20 days listening to podcasts in 2024.
Oh, to podcasts.
20 days of podcasting. If I just listened to podcasts straight for 24 hours for 20 days, that was my consumption.
Holy smokes.
When do you fit it all in?
How do you do that? You don't sleep?
Sleeping is
optional.
It's a luxury.
Or you're one of these guys who plays it at the back and have it be like a subliminal messaging thing. You just have like the 3 hour.
I don't do that.
Oh
no,
because you're married, right?
I'm an attentive listener. And I don't play music in the background. I listen to music when I work, when I read, or when I'm trying to concentrate on something. And I listen to 20 days worth of music. So I listen to 45 days worth of content on Spotify alone last year.
Wow. How do you concentrate with music on and work? Like I can't. I need to be in silence when I work.
It's all about that Trent. It's all about that Trent Reznor and Attica Ross soundtracking. I'm telling you, it's the social, the social network soundtrack. Or I listened to the movie Challengers. That soundtrack a lot this year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Tim Hecker, experimental musician from Montreal. Listen to his record like dozens and dozens of times, which is really. It's always like when you read, like when you see this data, you're like, what am I doing with my life? God.
I think you're more of a music head than I am, Michael. You win.
There you go.
You're much more of a music head than I am, but okay.
Tim Hecker, folks. Tim Hecker. Listen to Tim Hecker, not running music, not uplifting music, but if you need to like brood over the existential crises that you're dealing with, Tim Hecker's your guy.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Yeah, exactly. Holiday spirit. All right, guys. Okay, so Spotify Wrap for creators.
Okay.
Went off the rails there for a second. Fun fact. So we started posting video versions of our pod on Spotify pretty much right away when it was available. I think they were kind of beta testing it a little bit in the last few months. We are in the top 10 of all podcasts for video podcasts on Spotify. Top 10%.
I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of us.
10, top 10%.
Still good.
Amazing.
That is still good.
Thank you, listeners. Thank you so much. Yay.
We're right behind Rogan and Bill Simmons. No, they're way ahead, but we're in the top 10%, which may just mean that there aren't that many podcasts doing video on Spotify, but I don't care. I choose to believe that we're doing really well. But
don't knock us down, Michael. That's not bad.
No, I'm just about to pull us back up again here. We were in the top 10 podcasts of like a couple of thousand regular listeners. We rated in their top 10 podcasts for the year, which is pretty good considering we only started doing this podcast sort of midway through the year, or quarter through. I think it was, what was it, April or something like that. Boston Marathon was our very first podcast, Alex.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes.
And for several hundred people, we are the top podcast they listen to on Spotify, which is cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah. I thought that was nice. Kind of like gave me the warm and fuzzies for a half second there. Listener, viewer, we appreciate you. And we're looking forward to more in 2025.
Yes. Please keep us in your ears as much as you can.
Yes. And we'll be coming to you more in 2025. I think that's one of like the three of us have had some offline chat about this. We're doing the Boston Run show in early March, where we're going to get the gang. All three of us are going to be together, and we're going to do a live pod, and we'll meet the people that you can come and watch us do the podcast, chat afterwards if you'd like. And we're going to do some more stuff. We're going to try to do more outreach stuff so we can connect to people and kind of have like more of a full circular conversation with the audience. Don't know exactly how we're going to do that yet, but we're figuring it out for 2025.
My move to Toronto, of course, that will be another one.
The move to Toronto's one.
Big deal.
To podcast live weekly in front of a studio audience.
Oh,
yes. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into the big, meaty topic of the day, the year in review 2024. From a running perspective, we're going to go real rapid fire, January all the way through to the end of the year, the big moments, the highlights, the lowlights, the triumphs, the tragedies, the weird records in Crocs, and much, much more. And then at the end of the show, we're going to reveal to you our top 10 news stories of the year, which are fascinating and somewhat surprising, and a few that are pretty predictable, and our top 10 articles on the site. So training, informational stuff, which really kind of tells an interesting story of our audience and the trends in running this year, I'd say, and a lot more. All right, we'll be right back. All right, guys, time to get into the hot tub time machine. Let's go back to January 1st, 2024. We're going to go January, February, all the way through to December. Hit some of the highlights, news stories we covered, crazy events, a couple of really brutal, sad moments as well. And yeah, we've collected a very strange year in review here. I'm really curious to hear from both of you at the end what you think kind of encapsulated, like what kind of the keywords, the word cloud, the mood board that is 2024 is, now that we've got a full view of it in the rear view mirror. But let's just go rapid fire through the big moments first. Right off the top, I think it was like January 2nd, we did a story. Kelvin Kiptum, the world record holder, announced that he was going to run the Rotterdam Marathon in April, and he was going to attack the 2-hour barrier, which has never been broken in an official real marathon race before. Obviously, Eliud Kipchoge had done so back in 2019 at a sort of staged event in Vienna, running just under 2 hours. But Kelvin Kiptum, who seemed destined to run under 2 hours, announced he was going to do so. That was the very first big event of the year. Then
and that was like 3 months post world record. So
yeah.
To me, he was getting it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It felt like an fait accompli, like they just needed to hold the event and it was going to happen. Right. Guy was just like on an absolute heater.
On fire.
Yeah. So right after that, Agnes Ngedic of Kenya runs a world record, 10K road world record, 28:46. Congratulations to her. That's a pretty impressive way to start the year. Then we had what ended up being a really big story for us, and we'll get to that later in the show when we talk about the top 10 stories of the year. Kilian Jornet, the ultra running GOAT, and Zach Miller, another pro ultra trail athlete, they wrote a letter, a memo that got leaked that we reported on that addressed their concerns about the Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc event, the race, and the ownership and the new ownership or co-partnership with the Ironman Corporation. And they felt like the company and the event were going in the wrong direction. They were taking the ultra trail world in the wrong direction. And they proposed that pro runners boycott the event this year, which I should say, Kilian Jornet did end up following through with his boycott because he did not compete at UTMB this year. that was a bombshell. That was a big deal. I remember I was sitting in an airport in Florida, texting back and forth with our news editor Jesse about how to cover that, who to follow up with, who to email to get comment, and so on and so forth. That was a big deal. Then in January, do you guys remember the drama and confusion around how the heck you were going to qualify, how the heck athletes were going to qualify for the Olympic marathons? Like that was just like with this like weird rubric that the World Athletics came up with to try to qualify people. It was, I mean, thankfully that's all in the rear view now.
Yeah, with some time marks that came out that people mistook as just the minimal qualifying standards, and those times were astronomically quick. I remember there was a lot of panic, especially in like among the athletes who were on the bubble, right? Because this was the make or break for many of them. But yes, as you said, good thing that as the spring came along, it felt a little bit easier to get into the Olympics, which is not something that people say very much.
Or just more straightforward. Like it just became about like the basic standard qualifying standard, like qualifying through like this whole like convoluted point system they came up with and that sort of thing. It just kind of all went out the window in the end. Okay, moving on to February. And this sort of echoes back to the very first moment of 2024 regarding Mr. Kiptum. February 11th, it was, I believe, a Sunday evening in the Rift Valley region of Kenya. He dies in a car accident. He's just 24 years old. He dies with his coach. In that car accident, he was driving. And basically that changed the face of elite distance running forever. And it's a bit of a sliding doors moment. And we're still living in it right now, I would say, guys, because no one ran under 2 hours in the marathon this year. He was the heir apparent to Eliud Kipchoge by all accounts. He was emerging as potentially a global superstar on that level, transcending the sport. And that all went away. And he had this incredible rise. And I mean, kind of like a rock star. He just kind of disappeared on us and it's gone.
And it's not that we haven't seen wonderful performances throughout the year, but we haven't seen a performance where we said, wow, okay, this is the next now Kiptum. This is the guy who's going to absolutely break 2 in the next marathon, right? I mean, unless you guys saw this year different than I have. I mean, we saw some great performances, but nothing close enough where we were wowed. Like, okay, someone is going to be able to kind of take the torch and be able to continue, and we're going to absolutely see a sub 2.
Yeah, and there's something about seeing someone go who's so clearly on an upswing. That was one of the remember where you were moments in the year of running. It was Super Bowl night, right? I was at my fiance's house watching the Super Bowl, and as we heard about this, myself and her entire family, who aren't particular, running fans by any means, just went quiet.
Yeah, it just felt devastated.
It was a huge moment of sadness, even for people who didn't follow running very much, right? It's like the first man to go near the 2-hour mark or set the world record passing away. It was, I'll remember where I was.
Yeah, we don't get many of those in a year, certainly not in running.
No,
and unfortunately, this is the kind that you don't want to have happen. It's not like where were you when the 2-hour barrier was broken? This is the absolute opposite of that. Okay, U.S. Olympic marathon trials happened in early February as well. I went to Orlando and covered that live for the site, and that was a really good event. It was a really good event. There was a lot of, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a lot of concern and hand-wringing about it leading into it. Athletes were really concerned about the heat and humidity, and rightfully so. 10 a.m. start in Orlando just sounds like a terrible idea for any marathon, for any human. But they went through with it.
Torture.
Yep. Dropout rate was pretty high, but so was the rate of drama as well. And it produced some really good results. A few runners ran really well. I think that it coronated or crowned a couple of new stars in U.S. distance running.
A debut marathon winner, right? Correct?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it was a really good moment for U.S. distance running, and I think the event went really well. I certainly found it to be a very compelling event to cover and watch live. Orlando was actually ended up being the perfect city for it, and it was a really good event. And in that, also a couple little tidbits from that I'll sprinkle in here, a couple little gear tidbits. At that event, Wahoo showed up with the kicker run, one of our favorite technological innovations, the crazy new treadmill. That was, I think, its first public appearance. And then Tracksmith revealed that it had been developing a super shoe, which still has not come out almost a year later.
Still waiting on that.
Yeah. But it was on people's feet at that event. And we should be getting a test pair soon. So a couple interesting little tidbits came out of that event. Then March. Eliud Kipchoge did not do well at the Tokyo Marathon. It felt like an event that was almost teed up for him to win. Instead, Benson Kipruto, who I believe is a training partner of Kipchoge at times at the Global Sports Camp and the NN running team, he won. He's an Adidas athlete. They were kind of on a heater at that point, and Kipchoge kind of looked like he was done. And that will lead to August when we talk about the Olympics. Other couple fun things that happened in March. Something called the Barkley Marathons.
We've got some great trail stuff for March.
Biggest story of the year, question mark? Maybe. Our live coverage did crazy numbers. People were super into it. I remember at one point, because we were just doing like a live blog about it basically throughout the entire few days that it goes on. At one point I looked at the numbers and I was like, I cannot believe this many people are actually looking at this live blog right now. It was crazy.
They were getting hooked.
Totally hooked. Of course, Jasmine Paris becomes the first woman to complete the Barkley with an incredibly dramatic finish where she was like less than 2 minutes, I believe.
She ran it
60 hours.
59, 58, 21, just under the 60-hour mark. Like she just came in. She just snuck in under the 60-hour time limit. It was incredible. That's why it was so dramatic.
Alex, that's the equivalent in a 1,500 meter of someone like Superman diving across the finish line.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math down. That'd be like getting Olympic standard or getting the world record more so by like 0.02, maybe.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's wild.
That was exciting. Then we had another ultra event, which was, I would describe it as a little bit more calculated, although not like it was also an interesting thing to follow, which we also did a live blog for that did quite well and people were intrigued by it. This was called the Further Ultra event by basically put on by Lululemon in the desert of California around a loop course. And most notably, ultra runner Camille Herron broke a slew of world records during the race. How many did she do, Katelyn? It was a lot.
She broke 6 world records during this one race. Not to rattle off all the times, but she broke the 72-hour world record by running 342 miles, the 600K world record, the 700K world record. It's insane. 900K world record, and the 6-day world record, where she ended up running 560 miles. What's that in kilometers? A lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of kilometers. That's almost 1,000. It's 900 kilometers, I think. Something like that.
Wow.
Someone
should really make a Wikipedia page about her.
We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, you jokester, Alex.
We'll get into that in a second. That's coming up. April. A little shoe called the Alpha Fly 3 drops in early April, sells out in 60 seconds. Everybody on the internet is friggin' pissed. Reddit was a fire.
Since we're in the mood of giving ourselves ourselves shout outs this time, apparently. Let's shout out our YouTube channel. That was our first shoe review, was around the Alpha Fly 3. Yeah, which kind of shot itself because there was so much to say. It was like the biggest, loudest shoe release of all time, maybe, until Adidas. Well, Adidas outshone Nike later in the year, but I think that this release was more emphatic because it was loud, it was proud. It was like, okay, Nike is releasing their new long-awaited Alpha Fly 3. So that was an exciting time. I remember all my friends in the group chat were trying to get their hands on a pair. They weren't able to, and it was chaos for a few days.
So 60 seconds, how many pairs did they make? Was it really limited?
They don't like talking about that number, but it's, it's like...
I remember seeing 5,500.
Yeah.
Roughly.
It's in the
5,600.
It's in the mid to low 5 digits, I would say. They're very strategic. Nike knows what they're doing. They're creating a artificial scarcity scenario by sort of dripping it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Creating that desire, that demand. So then next big item in April, man, this was we did like 5 or 6 follow-up stories on this. This is the park run controversy. Okay, so really quickly, if you weren't following this one. Park run, they were timed 5Ks in parks, free, put on by this UK-based organization that kind of became a global company. It's spread across the world. There's thousands of them across the world. They're popular in certain countries more than others, really popular in the UK. Huge following. And they decided that they were no longer going to keep records, have leaderboards, or really kind of favor the more sort of competitive aspect of showing up and running a park run in every Saturday. And this just absolutely pissed off thousands of people. And there was just a very public outcry against it. There was a petition with thousands of signatures. The park run CEO had to come up with like a response, but they stuck their ground. And I think park run is still really going towards this like very non-competitive, very kind of everyone gets an orange slice sort of vibe. And so that's that. And even months later, we wrote a story recently, our news editor Jesse, about like a guy in his 80s who had all his park run records taken away from him. Just like, oh my God.
And also someone would have broken the park run 5K record, correct? But since there are no more records, it didn't count. So people are still keeping on top of mind what those numbers were, but supposedly they're vanished. You can't find the records anymore.
Gonzo.
These guys are pissing me off because they're 10 years late to this party of extremist inclusivity, is what I call it, inclusivity, at the expense of any type of competitiveness. I think that would have done great for them in 2015. Now, people are sick of it. Let people have fun. Let people run competitively. Let people do what they want. Wait, we said we're not giving our takes? Sorry.
There you go.
Wow. I've never heard Alex say, I'm pissed off.
I didn't realize Alex could get pissed off.
Me either.
Now, I think that they can have it all. Why don't they just have it all?
Yeah, just have it all. I completely agree. Let people go for fun. Let people run for fun. I'm all about that. That is the motto of my run club. But people who want to get competitive and they want to go fight for those PRs and the podiums for races, do that too. Just do it all.
The New York City Marathon, it encapsulates all of this. It's got, bleeding edge, top level elites at the very front running the fastest times in the world. It's got great top American runners. It's got world-class runners from all around the world. It's got age groupers. It's got fast old people. It's got slow old people. It's got people in banana costumes. It's got everything. It's like, that is the great, what they call the worst parade in the world, is the old joke about the marathon. It is the great worst parade in the world. Any sort of running race. So I don't know why park run. Anyway, just going down a rabbit hole here.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, so the speaking of great bad parades, the Boston Marathon happened in April.
Woohoo!
Alex Sear and I were there to cover it live, and that really felt like a jumping off point for us for what we're doing now. And it was a litmus test. We had a lot of fun. and we covered a lot of neat stuff. What's the snapshot, Alex, from Boston? Just one enduring thought from the Boston Marathon 2024.
Ooh, Newberry Street the day before, a million pop-ups everywhere, run groups everywhere, new tech everywhere. That day confirmed my thought that running was in excellent shape.
Agreed. Great snapshot.
Oh, Newberry Street. So nice to go up and down. Every time I go visit Boston, I love to take a stroll down Newberry Street. It's so nice. I got to find you guys. I have to show you next year, when we go to Boston, we've got to find the cookie shop that I found the last time I was there. If you guys like cookies, the best freshly baked cookies I've ever had in my life on Newberry Street.
Is this a time to say, oh, I don't look cookies?
I'm waiting
kidding.
for Alex to be like,
Alex,
actually, guys.
No.
Don't you dare.
Cookies are the best.
Okay,
I don't like pizza. Cookies are the best.
Okay, for the next pod, I'm going to remember what the name is. I'm going to tell you guys what we are going there in April when we meet up for Boston.
Sign me up.
Sorry, also getting off track. Just can't forget these things. They're very important. Cookies are very important.
Cookies on the schedule. Add it to the Google Calendar.
Do it.
Following week, after Boston, Michael gets on an airplane, goes to London Marathon. Perez Jepchirchir runs a women's only marathon world record, 2:16:16. That was cool. She dominated. London's awesome. It's legit. It's incredible. I believe at the time it was also, if I'm not mistaken, did it break the world record for the most number of participants in a marathon? I think it may have.
It may have, and then New York took that record later on.
Yep, we're going to get to that. That's in November. We're only in
foreshadowing.
April.
What it definitely did break the record on was right after when they opened up registration for the following year. They had like 850,000. Don't quote me on that, but it was getting like close to 1 million people who wanted to sign up for London the following year, if I remember correctly. So it did break some pretty big records this year.
Another record that was broken. Jeannie Rice, Floridian.
Oh, yep.
World record, 70 to 79 age category in the marathon, breaking her own world record, 3:33:27.
Awesome.
Shout out to her, because she lives in a part of Florida that I visit, and in Naples, Florida, and I see a good running scene in Naples, Florida. Spend some time there in the wintertime. I've seen her like every time I've gone for a run in Naples. So she's legit. She's out there just like grinding away, doing the work.
That's awesome. My dad lived in Naples for 4 years. He retired there and then decided to go back up to Boston because of the heat, because it was too hot. But so I ran a lot. I did actually some 10Ks in Naples when I would go visit him. I wonder if I hadn't met Jeannie Rice before.
Crossed without knowing.
They do.
Yes,
yes.
I probably saw her on the road running out there in that sweltering heat.
She's out there. She's out there doing the work.
Yep.
And then of course in April, the Rotterdam Marathon happened. And it was sadly kind of a non-event. Of course, there was no sub-2 staged with the absence of Kelvin Kiptum. Then we had the awesome sauce scandal.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys remember this? I believe Alex referred to it in a previous podcast as... No, did you refer to this one as silly? No, you referred to another.
Oh, I remember which one he referred to as silly. It's coming up.
We'll get to that one.
Yes, silly's coming up.
So this is a notable couple, the Roches. They have a very big podcast, very popular podcast. They are big in the ultra trail running scene. They're coaches, they're runners, and they also kind of fronted for this brand that made a product called Awesome Sauce, which is basically just like an all natural gel. And the big scandal was, turns out the gels had like nowhere near the caloric or carb counts that they advertise, which is a really dangerous thing in ultra running in particular, in any sort of running, but in ultra running in particular. Caused a huge scandal. There was a big brouhaha about it. Roches distanced themselves from it. I don't know what's going on. Spring Energy, the company, I have no idea how it's doing, if it even exists anymore. But that was a messy scenario that actually got people thinking about, like, sort of who's watching all of this. There's no real like guardrails for any of this. And then other brands got tested independently because there was curiosity about this. Reddit was all over this. The subreddits were crazy. Turns out many of the brands that are reputable brands are indeed reputable. Thankfully, they are pretty honest about their calorie counts and carb counts. May, Beatrice Chebet of Kenya breaks the 10,000 meter world record, 28:54. That was an awesome race. I think you can find that on YouTube. Then,
1 second. Isn't it weird that this is just an observation that the track 10K or 10,000 meter officially world record is slower than the 10K road record?
Is it?
Is it? Oh, wow.
Isn't it?
That's curious.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Let's scroll back
28.
here.
Agnes and Gatech's world
you're
record
right.
10K road 28:46, 28:54 for Chebet.
That is weird.
That is
Okay.
very interesting.
That's a rarity right there.
Mm-hmm.
Get Beatrice on the road.
Yeah.
Or get Agnes on the track.
Agnes on the track.
Yeah.
I think
I
more
think
so.
that's what we need. Yeah.
Speaking of speedy times, fastest marathon in Crocs, 2:58 world record.
I can't
Set in
believe
May.
that.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's like I'm guessing that he put the strap at the back and put the Crocs in sport mode, because if not, that'd be insane.
Oh yeah, so they weren't like clogs. Like
Oh, so there's subdivisions like
back.
shuffle mode versus sport mode.
Yeah,
Shrub
yeah. I
mode.
want to see someone go shuffle mode sub 3.
Yeah, strap,
And maybe
strap or
maybe
no
shrub.
strap. Strap or no strap. You have to have 2 categories.
I think
Also, Crocs make like way sportier. Do you call them shoes? I guess Crocs. They make sportier Crocs than they used to, I'm pretty sure. So we need a quantifier here. I'd say
these are
in
super
the old-
Crocs.
They could be super Crocs. In the old Crocs that I had back in the day, there's no way. Put these on Kipchoge, and there's no way he goes sub 3.
But he could run sub 3 in these super Crocs that are out these days.
So could I.
Okay, that's
okay.
a
Hold
bold
on.
statement, big
Everyone,
guy.
write this down. We're remembering this
2025 goals. Alex first
I
marathon
regretted that
in
instantly.
Crocs.
Oh God.
The gibbets
Me and
will
my
be
mouth.
flying.
Okay.
We'll have to come out with a special. We'll have to come out with a special marathon handbook gibbet for you to wear.
Yes, please.
My big discovery of 2024 was discovering what the word for those little pins on the Crocs are, and it's gibbet apparently.
Gibbet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gibbet.
80-year-old Jan Holmquist breaks the 5K world record for the age group in 24:08.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Wow.
Jan, I think women's time, 24:08.
Listen, another quick comparator here. Okay. Compare that to Jeannie Rice. All right. So pace wise.
You're doing tables here.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Yes, because Holmquist's time is just under 5 minutes per kilometer for a 5K, which is incredibly impressive at 80. This is a testament to what Jeannie did. Jeannie ran a little bit slower pace, but closely, like almost the same pace for an entire marathon.
Wow.
Between the ages of 75 and 79. So
Sick.
again, I'm saying this very impressive for Jan Holmquist, but mind-blowing for Jeannie Rice.
Wow. She's incredible.
Speaking of records, Usain Bolt's 100-meter world record became the oldest world record in athletics. It's now over 15 years old. It was set in August of 2009. 958 still stands. Don't think that's going down anytime soon.
I don't either, but Noah Lyles thinks so.
We can keep thinking that. Steve Edwards, world record for the fastest overall average of anyone who has run 1,000 or more marathons when set in May of this year. Think about that one for a half second. We did a story on this. We talked about this
processing.
In the pod.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
His average
42,000 kilometers, right?
Yes.
That's
Where does that
that's
get
42,000 kilometers.
That gets you pretty far.
What do you mean?
That gets me all the way out to you in PEI, I think.
Oh,
no,
easily.
42,000 is 4,200. That gets us around the world a few times. That's around the world. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm not that far, Michael. Jeez.
Yeah.
He misses you already, Alex. That's
Indeed.
the problem.
Yeah,
It's like
despite the Wi-Fi
away.
connection, I'm only a couple thousand kilometers away.
Yes, that's true. It gets you around the world like 3.5 times by my memory. Average 3:21:57, his lifetime average for 1,000 plus marathons. Apparently 50-ish people have run 1,000 or more marathons that have made the claim, at least.
That's insanity.
I guess if you've run 1,000 or more marathons, you're going to make that claim. So I think it's like 51 people have ever done it, which is just a crazy amount of marathons when you think about that. That's a lifetime of running marathons like every weekend.
Yep. Wild.
Katelyn, Florida woman, instead of Florida man, Katelyn Donner of Florida ran a world record pushing a stroller in May of 2024, 5:11 for the mile with the stroller on the track.
Okay.
And incidentally, her baby became the world's fastest baby.
Yes, indeed. Okay, June. Nope, we're going right to July. Not much happened in June, apparently. We had U.S. Olympic trials and so on and so forth, but we got a lot to cover here.
Michael tested himself in the back roads of Ontario in June, I recall.
I did. I ran for an entire day and an entire night and then some, and that was fun. Going to do it again next year. Yeah, that's a personal one. Not going to put that in the overall list of the year in review, but thanks, guys. July Grand Slam Track League kind of becomes a thing. People start talking about it. We've now got a much clearer view of what it's going to be. It's track, not field. It's a select few number of events. It's designed for being sports entertainment. It's happening in Jamaica as well as a group of events in the United States as well throughout the year, next year. It's got a bunch of top-level track athletes signed to it. They've started selling tickets. I think it's going to be on TV and streamed. I hope so. I think that's the idea. Sounds pretty cool. We'll see if it sticks. Netflix, July. Our friends at the streaming giant Netflix produce a little something called Sprint about the top sprinters in the world as they headed towards the Paris Summer Olympics. Season 1 dropped, and it was a hit, which was cool. We watched it. We talked about it. We all loved it, right?
And now I'm hooked on track. You guys got me hooked on... Well, Sprint got me hooked on track.
And I'm hooked on Sprint 2, which also comes later.
That's right. We'll get to that in a few couple of months. Figuratively. Faith Kipyegon, world record 1,500 meters, 3:49. First woman to get under 3:50. That's kind of a big deal. Jess Hull of the United Kingdom sets a 2,000 meter world record, not often contested. And I think she ran like the 5th fastest 1,500 meter in that 2,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Then, Katelyn, we had Hard Rock.
Yep. Ultra time.
Hard Rock 100. One of the big 100-milers.
One of the hardest, toughest 100-milers.
It earns its name.
Yep.
Kind of an exciting event. Your girl, Courtney, she did all right. Courtney DeWalter.
World record, breaking her own previous course record there. Well, yeah, a course record for Hard Rock, breaking her own. And there was also the men's also broke a record. There was Ludwig Pomeratz set a new overall course record as well. And he surpassed Kilian Jornet's world record from 2022. I'm saying world record. It is, I guess, a course record. You guys know what I mean. Course record. Sorry. We're talking so many world records. I've got it stuck in my head. Course record. So Hard Rock was a big deal this year because they broke both.
August. Little thing called the Olympic Games took place. And I think it was a big success by all accounts. I think that the track program and the marathons were absolutely killer. 100s were exciting. 200s were exciting. We don't have to go into detail about them here, but the men's 1,500 meter was super hyped. If you have not watched it for some reason, if you live under a rock, if you've just come out of a coma, if the aliens have returned you from abduction,
watch it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
The women's marathon, I think, is going to go down in history as one of the great moments or performances in Olympic history, like of all sports. Certainly one of the greatest marathons ever run, I would say.
Yep.
And a very entertaining race to watch. And Snoop Dogg was everywhere. No,
Snoop Dogg was everywhere.
Yep.
He was everywhere.
Yeah.
Track and beyond.
Yeah.
I still don't understand what the relationship was.
I think he just like wanted to be involved, and then NBC was like, yeah, let's do it. Snoop Dogg, sure. Why the heck not? Yeah.
Because they gave him a title, right? He was the like official Olympic ambassador of NBC or something similar.
Yeah, and he's wearing the funny glasses, and he was just like a man about town. He was doing like, he was commentating at like fencing and swimming and whatnot. He was on the track. I think he run?
Raced. Yeah, he raced some of the elites on the track. I saw that as well. Yeah.
Just totally corny. We don't have to get into the specific winners. Obviously, Sifan Hassan and others just totally kicked ass. That was awesome. After the Olympics, UTMB, the aforementioned controversial World Championships of Ultra Trail Running. That happened, and it was kind of a big deal. That was a fun race to watch.
We had another course record, which was really a big deal because Katie Scheid edged out Courtney Dauwalter as the course record. So, and by quite a pretty penny. She has a new time of 22:09, and the previous course record was 22:30 and change. So she did that. That was a really big deal. Katie Scheid is a monster.
So chopping something like 1 second off of 1,500 meters. This is your track translation.
Exactly. There you go again. Half an hour or 20 minutes is like 1 second.
Then we had two other records just tucked into the end of the month here in August. Olympians, when they're super fit, they just came out of the Olympics. Sometimes they like to go and try to go after some world records. We had Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone, I should say, broke her own world record in the 400-meter hurdles in the Olympics. Then Jakob Ingebrigtsen of Norway went and just like totally destroyed the 3,000-meter, long-standing 3,000-meter world record after the Olympics, which is really like, it's a weird distance, but that record was seemingly impossible to beat. And he did it. So kudos to him. Let's move on to September. Berlin. We had a podcast about this. We debated how good or not good the Berlin elite performances were. They were pretty good in retrospect. Winner ran 2:03, which is a great time. And the women's winner, Tigist Katema of Ethiopia, ran 2:16:42. Also a really good time. And also, I believe at the time, Berlin became the biggest marathon in history at that point, with well over 50,000 people participating. So it was sort of like this, it's like this numbers race between all these marathon majors in 2024. Also, the Adios Pro 4 got a little soft launch there. We see a whole bunch of influencers on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok scurrying around in the Pro 4 at the time. So we knew that shoe was coming up. We've since taken a good look at that shoe, Alex.
Yep. And for now, all I'll say, and all I can say really, because I haven't given it a wear test, is that it's super colorful.
It's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Their shoes look good. Their shoes are sharp. I'm looking forward to giving the Adidas whole lineup a full go through in 2025. I should also note that Kilian Jornet, who stood by his word and skipped UTMB, decided to do his own thing, which he called the Alpine Connections Project, where he spent 19 days running and cycling and hiking 82 peaks over 750 miles.
Wow.
And he hit 75,000 vertical meters in the process. Just what a flex by that guy. He's like, I'm going to skip UTMB to just crush basically the entire Alpine circuit. No problem. Look at me.
So I masqueraded as a trail runner for about a week this year when I went to the Alps and hung out with some other trail runners. And this had happened at that point. And I remember one of the guides who lived in the Alps, there was a big fan of the local trail running of over there, said that some other people had tried this challenge before or a very similar version, and it would usually take them 40 or 50 days. I don't know if this is something you've heard about, Katelyn, if you confirm or deny.
Wow.
But Journey completely decimated them. So it's like if you were running a 1500 and the record is 326, it's like you crush it in about a minute 55.
And that's what he does. That's what Kilian Jornet does. He just absolutely decimates whatever records are out there. He is on another level. It's just incredible fitness, this guy.
Speaking of ultra runners operating at a different level, we got one of the juicier and, as Alex has referred to it, sillier stories of 2024, the Camille Herron Wikipedia scandal. Yeah, so just in a nutshell, a colleague in the Toronto sports journalism world did some pretty good digging and discovered that there's some people that have been really active on Camille Herron's Wikipedia, fluffing up her page, making her look really important. And those same accounts have been going, and speaking of Kilian Jornet and Courtney Dauwalter, have been going to their accounts and kind of downplaying their performances, minimizing them, editing things out. It turns out that was Camille Herron and or her husband's and coach's doing, and that ended her partnership with her sponsor, Lululemon. That was kind of a big deal, and everyone was talking about it. And I'm telling you, people were really into that story. We'll talk about that later when we talk about the top stories of 2024. Brooks Glycerin Max came out, and I highlight this, Alex, because you went to New York and got to kind of bounce around in those big bouncy shoes, and I got to say, like, they've been a big hit for Brooks. So I think pretty big technological release for them.
Yep. Did a workout in Central Park and felt weird, but felt cool. And I like them. I still wear them.
I do too. I wore them yesterday.
October. I'm still waiting to try them. Can't wait.
You'll get them. Don't worry. October, Chicago Marathon. I was there. I ran it. Did a little coverage of it. Talked to Ruth Chepton-Gedich informally 2 days before the race. So, what are you up to? What are your plan? Oh, I hope to run well. I am in good fitness. It's like, okay, cool. Great. What are you aiming for? Well, kind of like course record was kind of the idea. And then she went out and ran 2:09:56, completely destroyed the world record by a couple of minutes. Caused a huge amount of controversy because it just didn't feel right. The jump was too big, and I'll leave it at that. We've litigated this one out many times before. Half marathon world record, Yomi Kajelcha, Alex's boy, breaks the half marathon world record by one whole second in Valencia. Yeah.
I'm going to call him your boy, Michael.
He is my boy. I like this guy.
Not because I don't want to claim him. I think he's a great runner, but I've also heard you say that you think he might be the guy to eventually go under 2.
The sub 2 guy.
So teaser, this is a long gestating project that I've been working on. The sort of like who will break 2 hours. And I actually was nervous because I wondered if in Valencia we'd see this Ethiopian dude, Cisse Lema, the guy who won Boston, and he didn't run the Olympics because he was injured. And I wondered if he had reloaded and was going to take a crack at sub 2 in Valencia. Because like Valencia put down, I think it was like €1 million for somebody to come and run under 2, or to break the world record. So conceivably to run under 2 hours and a few weeks ago in Valencia. It didn't happen. So I was like holding my breath. I was like, okay, I put together all this like research, and Alex and I have discussed this. Like, who do we think what's the group of runners that are out there right now that could attack the 2-hour barrier in 2025? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it might just like unceremoniously happen. Kind of like the Chicago Marathon when Jepten Gedich broke the women's world record, just kind of out of nowhere. But my concept, my project remains. So I think Kajelcha is one of these guys. He's on the list for sure. November, New York City Marathon. Maybe the biggest race of the year. Certainly was the biggest race of the year by numbers. Broke the world record, got back its former crown, because it's historically always been the biggest race in the world, marathon of the world. 50-something thousand people. I was there covering it. It was a crazy event. It was really good. Couple highlights from that race. Well, there was another world record in Crocs. This dude, Kevin Lime Cooler. Apologies, Kevin, if I just butchered your name. From Denver. Ran 2:51:27 in Crocs.
Oh my God.
Super Crocs.
Okay. These guys have to be running in sport mode. This is insane.
Yep.
Those times are insane. You're kidding me. 2:51? Okay.
Yep. 2:51:27.
Also, great name if that's how we pronounce it. Lime Cooler.
Lime Cooler.
What does he run? I want to know what these people are running in super shoes.
I'll put it in the show notes.
What's the difference?
I'll put it in the show notes. We actually did... we dug that up. I remember editing the story, and I remember it was in the story what his PR is. It's
I must know.
2:30 something, I think.
Okay.
Also of note, mega influencer Matt Choi got tossed out of the race and banned from New York Roadrunner events for life because he was like trying to film his attempt at running sub 3 hours in the marathon. And he had his like whole crew there on like city bikes, filming him and whatnot, and getting in the way of everybody else who was trying to run the marathon. So he got booted for that. I put in here that this is a personal one. I went to Hong Kong like the day after New York and tried to run a UTMB event in Hong Kong, Translantau. That was a fun event. Thank you for having me. UTMB Translantau. That was an awesome event and a highlight of the year for me. We then, speaking of highlights of the year, we went to the running event in Austin, Texas. We all got together for the first time, and that was special. And we also got to see a lot of neat stuff, and we kind of know the future now with shoes for 2025, and that was a big event. No, was there any, like, besides the Nike sort of admitting that they didn't know what they were doing with training shoes and were like gutting their whole approach and shuffling the deck on it, there wasn't a big, huge drop. There wasn't like a big, huge, like, oh my God moment, I don't think, on the floor at TRE. There was no big, giant release. Just a lot of little good releases.
There's just a couple of brands who had never dropped a shoe before that decided they're going to try a shoe, like CEP, and I think there were a couple of others out there. But other than that...
Yeah. December, Valencia. As I said before, no sub 2 hour run.
Nope. Really
good performances. Really good debut for the win. But nothing sort of earth shattering in Valencia. Although there was some controversy going into that race because there had been horrible flooding in the region in Spain. And there was a lot of question about whether or not the race should even happen and whether it was like insensitive to host the race. They ended up hosting it. And good race. Always produces fast times. Valencia, we've talked about this before, feels like it should be a contender for a world marathon major. And I think maybe it's just regionalization and politics that are getting in the way of making it one. Got the World Athletics Athletes of the Year. And there was some controversy around that. Alex, how do you, we ever get your take on your feel for those picks?
No, I think Hassan. Yeah, well, the long story short is it it makes you realize how you feel about Chepengetich's world record. I think we did talk about this briefly.
Yes. Okay. I remember this now.
As I'm saying it now, I remember it. But can you pick Sifan Hassan over Ruth Chepengedich? Hassan had an incredible year that you could argue is a lot more consistent than Chepengetich's year, but in regular circumstances, you would not overlook a 209. So, yep, it makes you. That's a gut check. It's a gut check about how you feel about it. Now we know how World Athletics feels about it. So
there we go. Mm-hmm. Last little tidbit here, and this actually the only reason why I add this is because, and this is a minor thing. Okay, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, the great Norwegian middle and long distance runner that we mentioned before, he wins the European cross country championships. Okay, whatever. I mean, that's great for him, but not something we probably would highlight in this list, except for the fact that it made me think about when you do year-end lists and you pick like best of that year and you do it before the year is completely through, and we're all kind of in this race to put the content together and get it out there when people are hungry for it, instead of, by the end of December when everyone's just has list fatigue. Then you've got what happens if there's an album drop on December 31st of 2024 and, Pitchfork's already put together the top 50 albums of the year. And it's oh, that's actually probably the best record of the year, but it came out after the release, after the list was made. I feel this way about Mr. Ingebrigtsen winning the European Cross Country Championships. It's just another thing to add to his list of accolades, and they didn't win Male Athlete of the Year. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Then we'll pivot into revealing, for the first time ever, our top 10 news stories of the year, as well as our top 10 training-oriented articles of the year, which is really kind of neat. Okay, we'll be right back. All right. The top 10 news stories of the year, purely based on web traffic on our site, marathonhandbook.com. Some of these stories got a crazy amount of traffic and reached pretty far and wide. You guys ever listen to Top 40? You ever listen to Casey Kasem's Countdown? Caitlin, am I speaking your language right now?
Casey Kasem, Kiss 108 FM, of course, every week. You got to be kidding me.
Alex is just who the hell is Casey Kasem?
Yes.
Is that the girl who opened for Taylor Swift? No, that's Casey Musgraves.
Casey Kasem was a dude.
Yep,
he hosted Top 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is back in the heyday of early to mid 90s, Boys to Men, Mariah Carey.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What else? I remember getting very excited when I think Nirvana was the top on the top 40 at one point, or in the top 10 or whatever. This is pre-internet. People were depraved, and we would just listen to anything.
Listen to the radio. Do you remember? Sorry, I have to do this. Making the mixtapes, and so you have the cassette in the boom box, and you're just waiting for the song to come on the top 40 and run and press record. I mean,
double press, play, record, double press. Or I'd have it down, and you have the pause button, and then you have to lift the pause button, and just hopefully you got the beginning of the song.
Yep.
You're trying to make a premonition over what song is next, whether or not you're going to record it.
Yep.
How sad is that, Alex? You're just I can just have anything I want now.
Yeah, but I only have one question. Did that ritual happen before or after you churned the butter for the day?
It was, I milked the cow first. I had to walk uphill to school both ways the snow. I played with sticks. Shoes. My toys were sticks. My shoes were my toys. All right. Let's get into the list here. I think we should do reverse order. We should build some tension here.
I was going to say the same thing. I think we have to go from 10 to 1.
Yeah. And so before number 10, we'll get an honorable mention out of the way because it was so close to being number 10. I'm just going to throw it in here. These are all stories that are for the most part, our colleague Jesse Carveth crafted for us. Mm-hmm. And so this one was a wacky one. It's had its origins in on Reddit. The title was, Did the IG famous Raw Dog Run Club bandit the Austin Marathon?
Say what?
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So this group is like a group of like hybrid athletes. Alex, you know the world of hybrid athletes. You just did a very funny YouTube short about.
I have a friend who lives at home with me who's a hybrid athlete. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. These dudes are a bunch of like muscly dudes who are big self-promoters, and they built like a pretty big community in the Austin, Texas area, and they do these like group runs, and they just weren't abiding by very much running etiquette. And now we've all run on that trail in Austin. Mm-hmm. It's a tight trail. It's a packed trail. Mm-hmm. It's a well-used trail. It's kind of the running artery of the city. And I guess they would get like, 100 plus people running in this big pack, and they'd be like, several wide and wouldn't get out of people's way, and just sort of were acting not very nicely. And a lot of locals took umbrage with that. And then there was just some like Reddit sleuthing, and there's a discovery that maybe some of them banded the Austin Marathon, and then the Austin Marathon got weird about it because I think they didn't want to like, I don't think they wanted to like enrage this group because they wanted to tap into the group, was my read.
And so they're big and strong. So,
Exactly. They're muscly. And so there was a whole back and forth, and we contacted them, and they at one point kind of implied they were going to sue us. And then I was just like, good luck with that. We're just reporting the facts. Anyway, all that to say, it was a fascinating story, and all the best to them. We actually, Alex, I pointed out to you when we were in Austin, we ran by one of the leaders of this group.
Yes.
He's just out by himself doing a run. So like, hats off to that guy who's out doing the work, Mm-hmm. He wasn't IGing himself. He wasn't filming himself while he was running. He was just out doing a run. Good for him. 10th story of the year. And we don't have to go into great detail with these because we covered pretty much all of these in the review. Spring Energy's Awesome Sauce Gel is accused of being fraudulent product, and ultra runners are upset. And then we had a whole slew of follow-up stories that also did really well. Mm-hmm. Number 9, watch. Sifan Hassan wins thrilling sprint in the 2024 Olympic Marathon to cap off her historic triple. The video of that was awesome because it was some jostling for position between her and Tigist Assefa, and awesome moment in Olympic history. Number 8, Lululemon drops Camille Herron as ambassador after Wikipedia controversy. So the initial story did really well. The follow-up story about Lululemon dropping her, which was kind of breaking news in the moment, because we contacted Lululemon, as I'm sure many others did, media outlets. We're like, what are you guys going to do about this? What's your comment on this? And how do you feel about this scenario with your athlete? And they were just like, we're done with her. And it's like, okay. So that was a big story. Number 7, live updates of the life, legacy, and death of marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptoum. We did a ongoing live blog because there was just I'd forgotten about this. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of crazy things that were happening around this. Do you guys remember this? There was some kind of conspiratorial thinking around his death at one point. There were people visiting his family's home. There was big Kipchoge fans being really hard on. It was just, and then people that were fans of him being hard on Kipchoge, and then Kipchoge had to comment on it because
I think he was getting harassed and everything.
He was getting harassed online,
it was scary.
and in person, and threats, and it was strange. I mean, it was sad and strange. It's number 6, the parkrun controversy. Parkrun records are gone to promote inclusivity, and runners aren't happy about it. And there was a lot of fallout of that one too. Number 5, Jasmine Paris becomes the first woman to complete the Barkley Marathons. And then number 4, connected to that, our live updates feed of the Barkley Marathons. As I said before, just like stupid levels of traffic. Thank you to all of you that followed along. We did our very best. We worked pretty hard to kind of concisely distill everything that we were getting, all the information, and kind of give a play-by-play of sorts.
And that's not an easy race to follow. So kudos to you and Jesse, because it's everything is very secretive and tricky with that race. So you guys did such awesome coverage on it.
Number 3, which is kind of a evergreen one, but it was sort of fun and crazy traffic. Here are the 10 biggest marathons in the world, which is obviously an ongoing and evolving list, as we saw in 2024. The number 2 story of 2024 was penned by the Marathon Handbook godfather. Amby Burfoot wrote an opinion piece entitled "Why It's Hard to Trust Ruth Cheptegeich's Marathon World Record."
Honestly, surprised that was not number 1.
Me too, because that got a crazy amount of attention across the board. Our core audience was really into it, but also it was getting a lot of attention on Let's Run, social media. We did a podcast, sort of special episode with Amby about it that did really well. People were really interested in this perspective, and I think he articulated himself wonderfully as always. Number 1 story of the year. This surprised me.
Me too.
I was really surprised by this. Kilian Jornet and Zach Miller call on world's top trail runners to boycott UTMB and leaked email. I think this one was number 1 in part because I think we were maybe the first outlet to report on it. And I think it was referenced quite a bit by other outlets. And I think people are just really upset about this and really interested in the kind of like the palace intrigue of these elite, Kilian Jornet, that's like the Michael Jordan comp. It would be like Michael Jordan kind of like trying to rally a boycott of the NBA finals or something like that, right?
Right. It was a big deal in the trail running world.
Yeah.
Really big
and
deal.
It spilled over into the greater world because the trail running world is just not big enough to support the amount of web traffic that got. So
we're getting there, guys.
You're getting there. So I think the takeaways from this one are what's your takeaways from this, Alex? What's your takeaway from the top 10 stories of 2024?
That the Barkley marathons keep giving, man. That's like, I look at my top 5. I'm also surprised by number 1. Things happen on the internet, I suppose, but 4 and 5, that's no mistake. And I just remember how much the website was popping when that was happening. I've said this before. I don't get it. It's not my kettle of fish. I'll never do it. People love the Barkley, and I respect that.
I think that was my biggest surprise as well, because I love the Barkley because I'm in the trail world, but what really surprised me is how excited everyone else was about it, and that this race is so mysterious, and Laz keeps everything as such secret and when it starts. And I think just the intrigue of the race maybe brought a ton of people in that I wouldn't have expected. And so that was, I think, a really fun part of this year, but very surprised with seeing those 2 in the top 5.
It's the running equivalent of the great American novel. It's the Moby Dick of endurance sports events. It's an incredible story. It's this compelling narrative, and it's totally weird and original. And doesn't get tired or old for some reason.
No.
All right, let's run through our top, let's call them like training and evergreen style articles of 2024. So evergreen, if you're not a media nerd, is just a term we use for stuff that is longer lasting. Evergreen, like a tree. Okay, honorable mention. This one was kind of fun. Best running team names over 200 to choose from. So we came with this like crazy list of like names of running groups and teams, which I thought was kind of a fun and funny one. And I was surprised to see it was so high up on the list.
That's funny. Yeah.
Top 10, number 10. What is the Cooper test and how to perform it? You guys know what the Cooper test is?
It's like a gym class thing. They used to do it in gym class, I'm pretty sure.
I think it's a way to define your fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based on, I think, age and sex. And the reason why this did so well, guys, is because it was linked in the New York Times. So the Times did a story on fitness. Basically, the Times did a story on like, so you're not invincible and you're not 25 anymore. How do you get into shape and what do you do and how do you like figure out your baseline? And the Cooper test was mentioned, and
we were linked. I was very excited about that.
The Cooper test was linked, and it got a crazy amount of traffic because of that.
I think Amby wrote that to me. Thank you, Amby. He wrote me an email, and he was like, "Your article's linked in the New York Times," and I'm like, "It's what?" It was very exciting.
It's always a happy day. When you get the Times giving you a little hat tip.
That was very fun.
Number 9, the top 10 best foods to break your fast. Which, do you guys ever refer to it as breaking your fast?
Every morning, yes. It's time to break fast.
He walks in, he takes his cloak off, he sits down, he says a prayer, and then he says,
and I say, "Mother,
for me to break my fast.
What is for break fast this morning?"
Yes.
No, but this is actually about breaking a fast if you're going to go on a water fast, right? So what are the best foods to have after a water fast or something like that? We have dabbled in the nutrition field as well. So I think
people are really like fasting curious.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
How do you guys feel about fasts?
I would no. It's a hard no for me. I get way too hungry. First of all, there's no way I would be able to fast. I have enough trouble between when I fall asleep at night and waking up in the morning, and not like midnight snacking. So I think a fast is a hard no.
Yeah, it's a fun thing to experiment with. I think there's a lot of research coming out around intermittent fasting, but for me, it's one of those things that I put being a vegan in this category of things too. It's like there might be benefits if you do it skillfully, but I don't really trust my ability to just go and venture off and do it willy-nilly. So I don't experiment with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1:30 Eastern right now, and I have not yet eaten lunch, and I feel like I'm going to eat my own arm. So fasting is out for me. That's a hard no.
Yep.
Number 8, what's a good 5K time? And also, what's a good mile time? They were basically tied.
I don't know who wrote this. Excellent titles. That's just rife with possibilities for debate and conflict and traffic. So,
yes.
What
is a good 5K time?
There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it gets the articles get into like kind of like what's a good 5K time for a beginner, for somebody who hasn't run for a long time.
It's all based on a ton of data that we go through, and we get averages and we get all that kind of stuff. And it's broken into categories by sex, by age, by level. So it's like pretty, you can like, there's a lot of numbers. It's not just like one number. So it's a really nice, they're nice guides to kind of figure out where you are.
Number 7, couch to half marathon guide. Classic. People are, if the 20-year trend continues, people are into the half marathon.
Yep.
Number 6, our free full marathon training plan for all ability levels. Always a popular one. Not surprising.
I'll click on it in 2 years.
There you go. There you go. Alex is going to read it for 24 months. He's going to use an incognito tab this year to look at it and think a little bit about it. Number 5, what's a good VO2 max? An essential question for all runners. It's a bit of a murky topic if you're somebody who doesn't really delve into sports science. I think a very comprehensive article. Number 4, what's a good 100-meter time? This one surprised me.
I think it came out because of the Olympics and sprint. Everyone kind of wanted to know,
so
okay,
what's 100-meter time?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably where that stemmed from.
And then also for like us mere mortals, like it's one thing to be like sub 10 for the top level men, but what does that mean for me?
Right.
The answer is a blown hamstring. Number 3, half marathon training plan. Perhaps not surprising. That's really far up there. Number 2, what is a good marathon time? And then it goes into the averages by age, sex, and ability. A classic. bread and butter.
Yep.
Our number one our number one article for traffic this year surprised me a little bit because I thought it would be the marathon one or a half marathon training plan. Was just our pace charts and calculators. Like, just people just need that stuff. That's like super helpful. People Google it. People refer to it over and over again. I guess they probably have it in a bookmark if you still do that kind of thing. That was the most popular training oriented article of the year from us. And they're pretty good. And we're always kind of updating them. Did a big refresh of the website this year. So all this stuff looks a lot nicer as well. We've actually just updated our the ad display as well. So it's a little cleaner and more modern as well. All right, guys.
We did it.
We did it. The year in review, 2024. What's the one word to encapsulate 2024 from each of you? I'm talking slowly to stall because I did not prep you for this.
No. One
word that captures this 2024, or like a phrase.
Oh, good. Phrase is better. Because I was going to make up a word and call it self-competition.
Okay. What's that mean?
It means look at our articles that did well, our training articles. People want to know how to run. Makes sense. We're running a website. People want to know what's good. What's a good 5K time?
Yes. Good call, Alex.
It's not.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's no longer just I want to run to finish. It's I want to run to finish, and I also want to run fast. And I love that because as I freaked out like 45 minutes ago about this park run controversy thing, there used to be no space for competition in weird little niche parts of running, and now I think that we've agreed collectively that running is two things. It can be participatory. It's also cool to be competitive, no matter how quick or slow you think you are. I love that for 2024.
I love that too. And I think we went from this moment in like the 70s through maybe the 90s where it was like, there was no room for participation. There was only room for being competitive. Like even like oldsters telling me that like, if you didn't run, if you ran in the 250s, like people laughed at you at the marathon. Like, what are you doing here? And it was like, it was only for sub-elite and elite runners back in the old days. And then that shifted titanically in the opposite direction where it was like the 2000s, the big first running boom. It became just like mostly about participation, kind of clouded out competitive running. And now we're at this place where I think the tent is big enough for everybody. Because I mean, the vast majority of people, look at our top training articles. People are into challenging themselves, right? That's why running is magical. You're challenging yourself to be the best version of yourself. And that may also mean you're going to get competitive with other people around you in a race, but also you're competing against yourself and you're trying to get the best out of yourself. Self-improvement, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of like...
self-improvement. That's the word. God.
There you go. Self-improvement. There's a little hyphen in there. That's one word. There you go. Self-improvement defines 2024 for Alex Sear. Katelyn, what's like the grand vision for you for this past year now that we're looking back?
I'm gonna use two words. I'm gonna say inspiration and motivation, because we saw tons of world records smashed. We saw old world records just obliterated, which is awesome. So we see that people are getting better. They still have the fire. It kind of goes hand in hand with what Alex is saying. And what I'm trying to say is that we see, even as mere mortals and recreational runners, that it's possible to do these things. So we say, whenever we kind of feel like giving up, be like, let's look back on 2024, see the women's marathon world record smash, see Kilian Jornet traversing 75,000 vertical meters in whatever, like, no matter what your adventure, no matter what your passion, if it's a 5K, if it's hiking, if it's trail running, marathon running, like, you see all of these people and they just inspire you to be better. First woman to finish the Barkley marathons. I feel like over this year, there were a lot of inspirational moments, and that just, I think, kind of pushes us to be better ourselves, to break our own records, and to go on new adventures. So that's kind of what I take from this year.
Great analysis. Absolutely. Mine would be running boom. I think we are officially in I would categorize this as like maybe the second or even third wave of a bigger 25-year running boom, but which then it's like, well, if it's a constant boom, how can it be? I think things ebbed and flowed a little bit and kind of went down a little bit pre-pandemic, but I'd say like 2020 to now, we are now in a, like, let's call this the third wave of the running boom, or the fourth wave of the running boom, even first one being in the 1970s. That sort of gave rise to the marathon and Nike and so on and so forth. We are now in a new running boom. That means a lot of things. That means there's a lot of wealth, a lot of money, a lot of interest, a lot of potential. Hopefully it's not a bubble scenario, but we are definitely in a running boom, and that's cool. And that means that 2025, at least in the first half, is going to be pretty damn exciting. I'm excited for it. Final thing, guys, your own personal year in review. Big standout thing from 2024 does not have to be running. Big life-changing, something you're going to look back. You're going to look back in 2064. You're going to be like, 2024, that year for me was the year that...
Okay, I'm going to be a little cheesy, and I'm going to choose...
I love cheesy.
And I'm sorry, but this is something that has been huge this year for me, and I think it is related to Marathon Handbook and what we do and what we have done this year. Because we have taken, all of us, the entire team has just elevated Marathon Handbook to another level in conjunction. Everyone, what I saw this year, it really stand out, everyone's strengths. And I think I really saw that at TRE. And I feel like we have created Thomas has created such an awesome team. And I feel like I've grown a lot in my professional life, because I'm doing things this year that I would have never thought I would ever do, like the podcast, like doing,
talk to thousands of strangers,
like talking to a ton of people, and absolutely loving every second of it. And, having Alex call me in on a shoe review at TRE, just completely not planned, and having a lot of fun with all of these kind of things, and just really loving the work that we do, and seeing each of you guys just kind of shine in what you do. Michael, just like completely incredibly knowledgeable about everything, polishing the podcast, flawlessly leading us each week as we do it. Alex,
are you reading a script, right, Katelyn?
No,
I think Michael wrote
I'm
this
not.
in Google Doc.
Keep going, Katelyn.
And Alex, I have something for both of you. And Alex, seeing you at TRE, where you just made absolutely everyone you interviewed feel incredibly comfortable. And even if they weren't even planning to be on camera, you just kind of easily brought them in and, made them shine as well. And so I think that each of us have really contributed a lot to the team, and of course Andy and Thomas and Kosuke with all of his organization in TRE. So I think kind of a big deal for me this year was kind of the professional growth and being part of the team. So I know it seems like, we're on the Marathon Handbook podcast, but to be honest, was really big for me this year.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry, man.
You're gonna see his pixelated tears now, all the way from Prince Edward Island.
I'm happy you can't see anything here. Jeez. Okay,
Seer,
how do I
follow that one up?
How do I follow that up? Well, I guess I'll say that this year I started doing Instagram reels from my condo. And when you're able to convince your girlfriend to go along with this crazy Instagram reel schedule and appearing ridiculous on camera for you, you need to propose to that girl. And so I did that, and I got engaged in October 2024, and that was the best part of my year. As much as TRE was awesome, guys, I'll echo Katelyn, but I got to put the engagement up there.
It's like the birth of your child. If you have to rank it at the top, and if you don't,
I got to try the Evo shoes.
Yeah. Guys, I'm talking about the whole entire professional year, not just Alex. Oh my gosh. Good. That's awesome, Alex. Good Congratulations again. Now, Alex, so if those of you who didn't know, Alex is engaged. This is very exciting.
Sorry to disappoint.
His funnier, more effortlessly talented acting counterpart in his YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. Alexis is his new running partner in life and in life as well, and just partner in life. Yes. For me, kind of similar to you guys. I mean, I didn't get engaged. I'm already married. Got that one done. I've got a child. He's awesome. He's very funny. He loves running because he doesn't know any better. He sees these two weird parents running all the time. So he's just like, this is normal. Normal life is everyone going out and running all that, like 5 o'clock in the morning every day. In the pissing rain or the snow or whatever. Yeah. I think for me, kind of to echo your sentiment, Katelyn, maybe the best year of my life professionally. It's certainly the happiest I've been. And I think, and Alex knows me really well, and we've worked together, and we're pals, and we've just been in the trenches together for many years now. And I think that, when you think about like what you want to be, like what you're doing with your life, whether it matters or not, you're sort of like grappling with all these big kind of like, in some cases, like very like kind of hubristic, self-indulgent, self-centered thoughts about like what you're doing with your life. And it's like, dude, like, does any of this really matter all that much? Just be a good person and like take care of the people around you and work hard. And you struggle with like being the running person, right? And it's like, is that enough? And is that what I want? And I battled this for like 15 years. And this year, I didn't even need to make a choice about it. It just felt so natural. And part of it was the team we work with, working with you guys, the creative latitude that we have, the things that we're doing, Katelyn, as you said, where we're going with all of this, the events we've covered, the people we've met and talked to, the plans we have for the future, and the seriousness and the fun that we've had doing all of this has just really made it the best year of my life professionally. So that's 2024 for me.
You can't see it, also, but I'm holding I think it's an on water bottle. I don't know. And I'm cheersing the camera here. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers to that. And of course, also just desperately feeling my age in the marathon, but hopefully that's just the flip. Okay, guys. On that note, let's round out this year. And we've recorded a lot of podcasts in advance, full disclosure to everybody. This one is going to drop towards the end of the year as our year in review, and I think mid to late December. Happy New Year to everybody listening. And make sure you subscribe to the newsletter. If you don't already subscribe to this podcast, by all means do so. Provide a review and a rating. Helps us a lot connect with people like yourself, which is our big ambition and goal for 2025, is to reach even more runners and to be a part of your life every day with running. All right, guys. Talk soon.